Visit telemiracle.com to learn how the Kinsman Foundation is helping people every day in Saskatchewan, the home province of Brian Munz. As we said before the break, long-time Winnipeg and Edmonton broadcaster, but Sask too. And Munzie, we don't need to get into any Telemiracle stories. I want to talk about the National Hockey League. And I'm sure you got asked a ton about the Jets, but I want to just ask you about the Flames, because you examine every team, I'm sure. What do you think they're going to do here? We're still 6 to 8 weeks away from the trade deadline, but flirting with that playoff line makes it seems like they're in a conundrum.
Well, ring those phones for Telemiracle, right? That's the phrase that you and I grew up on. Everybody knows that back in the prairies.
Betcha.
You know what? For Calgary, for me, I still think it's too early. Like, I was looking at the standings this morning, and I've got to admit to you, first and foremost, Rod, I've been in Denver and I've been in Arizona since pretty much the 2024 calendar turned. So I've kind of got my head in the sand a little bit, was focused more on golf and trying to get out of this minus 50-degree weather that we have north of the border that obviously you know nothing about. I think Calgary have to give it a bit of time right now. The big thing that jumps out for me is the back end that could all disappear next year. Right? I think 5 of their 7 defensemen right now under contract are UFA next year. Looking online here this morning. So that would be one thing that would definitely have my attention if I was around that team every day. But just because this Western Conference is so close right now, it makes it much watch drama. Like, that's the one fun thing about it is you flip on the television, and I heard you and the sports doctor talking earlier on. Who would have thought Philadelphia was going to come in and shut out the Winnipeg Jets, who still haven't given up 100 goals against this year on the entire season? Only team to do that so far, by the way. But I think the arms race that is right now is still too tight.
Actually, that's wonderful analysis. If you're Craig Conroy and Ryan Huska, you might be sitting back going, we don't need to decide today, which is kind of what you're saying. But from a Winnipeg standpoint, which you know better than anybody, do you feel this team needs to augment at all? You already have the number 1 team in the NHL. What could you possibly look to add, unless I'm wrong on that?
Yeah, you know, the word around town here, and again, I don't pay as much attention to it as obviously I did when I was involved on a daily basis. But watching the games, talking to people inside the organization that are now more friends than coworkers, I think they'd still like to see a defenseman. Now, I think the other 31 teams in the NHL would also say, hey, give me a top 4 defenseman and we'd be extremely happy. But overall, I don't think you tinker with a lot of it. They won 28 out of 42 games, right? They only have 10 regulation losses. And again, they've been so good in their own end where I say get a defenseman, the 6 or 7 that are playing every night will look at me and say, well, why? We've done our job so far in front of Connor Hellebuck or Laurent Brossoit. So I think right now, if you're Rick Bowness and Scott Arniel and Brad Lauer and that entire organization, I don't think Kevin Cheveldayoff wants to tinker with too much because it's not broken.
Well, and your thoughts on the streaks. Oilers at 10, Kraken, I think, at 9. And then you saw the Panthers and the Jets had their snap Saturday night. Yeah. The fans are going nuts about it, but it was Bobrovsky who said, here, these streaks don't matter. It doesn't matter now. You want to be playing well, yes, but you don't need to be playing your best. Is too much being made of them in your mind?
No, because it's hard to win in this league. And I saw Florida when I was in Denver last week on January the 4th. It was an afternoon game. The Panthers were playing the Colorado Avalanche. We were there for a Humboldt Broncos Memorial Golf Tournament event that Dog Nation through Colorado brought 12 of the 16 families in that lost a member on the April 6th bus crash. And it was neat to see because everybody loves hockey, right? That's why we were all there. And you have arguably one of the best teams in the Western Conference in Colorado, and you've got Paul Maurice's Florida Panthers who continue to take the Eastern Conference by storm right now everywhere they've been going. So it was a colossal matchup. Florida scores 3 goals on their first 3 shots. Colorado ties at 3-3. Game finally ends 8-4 Panthers with 2 empty net goals. But it was, you couldn't take your eyes away from the arena for the entire night because the star power that's involved in that game, you mentioned Bobrovsky, he was just unbelievable that game. And I think these streaks are something to pay attention to because, you know, these games are not easy to win. The travel these players go through, and hey, I lived it. the charter life, the 5-star hotels, it's awesome. But it's a grind for the players that are it's a grind for everybody that's there. So when you're able to put a run together like these 4 or 5 teams are right now, that should be celebrated by everybody in the league because it's not something that's easily done.
I've known you since you were in high school. And all through your time with the Jets, you always really seem to like Paul Maurice. What is your take on just the change and what he's doing here and how Winnipeggers just can't let it go? That's the sense I get.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I would say they can't let it go anymore because they've got, and hey, Brad Lauer is a personal friend of mine from Humboldt. That staff that he has a chance to work with as an assistant coach under Scott Arneal, who's the associate, and Rick Bowness right now, like that's the perfect fit coming in after Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice was a fan favorite because he could step up on the podium and he would gravitate any person that was there, whether you were a hockey fan or not. You want to listen to what Paul Maurice has to say. There's a charm there. To me, and I still bug him about it when we talk about it, he's going to end up in TV one day because he's so good at it. But he can deliver a message, and I've seen Paul speak at countless different charity events or corporate functions or whatever it may be. And just some people have that cachet, right? When you walk into a room, you're drawn to them. And then when they can deliver a message, whether it's business, whether it's school, whether it's athletics, whatever it may be, that 2 minutes in, you've got everybody just glued on you with their eyes that, he's got that wow power. And it's obviously worked with this Florida Panthers team because when you look down the roster, they have some stars, but they've got a group of players there that have become a really good team. They've obviously got a world-class goaltender in Bobrovsky, but he's a guy that brings people together. And for whatever reason it was time to move on for him here from Winnipeg, and he has found a really good spot. He's really happy down in Florida, and they're having a heck of a season there. You know that. You see it.
Like you say, yeah, well, missing the game today, but it's given me the chance to sit here and talk to you, so that's awesome. But it's nice when both can be happy after a split. Yeah. Jets #1 overall team, and Pomo goes to the Stanley Cup and may do it again. It all worked out nice again, as Cactus Jack Wells would say in your town. Munzy, thanks, buddy. All the best in 2024. Let's do it again soon.
Anytime, Rod. Good to see you.
Longtime broadcaster now from Gulf, Manitoba, Brian Munz.